Right, good morning, everybody. This next webinar, Fat Talks, is in English, so welcome you all. And it's in English because, of course, we have a special guest. Sinead, welcome.
Hi Eric, thanks for having me this morning. Delighted to be back. You're a bit
It's great to great to have you here. Today we're going to talk about how to pivot sales and marketing in response to COVID-19 because, of course, there are really uncertain times now, and maybe with this webinar we can give you some tips and tricks to improve your sales and marketing, like I said, in response to this whole situation. So I will do a little introduction, and after that Sinead will do the hard work for me and run through some tips and tricks. If you have any questions, you are free to just throw in your question in the chat pane. If we have some yes or no questions, you are able to just raise your hand, push the hand button in the bottom of the screen. So if we look at the agenda, I'll first talk you through some stages of crisis. After that, we give you some tips and tricks in marketing landscape, but also in sales landscape. And maybe after that, we can do some discussion about, okay, what's changing the world with this whole situation, and will it changed after it? So I'm curious about that myself. So let's do a little discussion about that. So let's start. First, about things will change. I already said it. I think really things will change during this COVID-19, but also after. Can I get the next slide, please?
Yes, sorry.
Because Sinead is running the slides now. I think things will change if you look at balance between like professional and personal life, but also like this example, traveling. I read it this morning, and people are large businesses are considering to do between 10 or 30% less business flights. So it will be a massive impact on, for example, the whole aviation industry. So we really have to look to, okay, what will change my business in this whole situation? And maybe to understand this a little bit more, I think we have to look at different stages in a crisis. So there are stages of crisis we typically go through in times of crisis like we are at the moment. So the right side tells us more about personal stages, where I want to focus on today. It's also called the Kubler-Ross grief cycle. And I think we all recognize some of those stages. So first there's the denial stage. A lot of people might have thought something like, okay, this will not going to affect me, or I think it will be less worse than it's painted right now. Or in Dutch we say, de soep wordt niet zo heet gegeten. So in the denial stage and the anger stage, you want to share information, you want to communicate. So this is something what our government, for example, do all the time. They provide us as much information they can to help people through that stage. But then in the anger stage, things are getting more out of control. So how are we going to deal with it? And then if you look at customers, for example, in an anger and depression stage, some of us really will hit the button of that cycle when we feel overwhelmed, helpless, and so on. So people, please be mindful of the different stages and try to identify in which stage a customer or prospect is at, and then adapt the way you communicate with them. So maybe you recognize something like, okay, freeze all assets for 3 months. We're not going to do any investments now. We're going to wait it out and we see what happens. So they want to stay back. So be sure that you give the right emotional support and stop being in the sales mode. It's not the right time now. After this stage, things will eventually get better. So in a lot of cases, people and businesses need to change or adapt their business and the way they want to communicate. So in the bargaining and acceptance stage, people are open to a more proactive and adapt, explore situation. So from your empathetic attitude, you can slowly change your role towards a more guiding and directive role. So help them to adapt to this new situation, and determine if you could help them out towards smart solutions. Adapt how you communicate, and above all, most important thing, listen. So if you're on a sales process, you typically balance between, okay, what are you going to do today, and what do you want to reach together? What's the big dream we want to reach? And there is obviously the way towards that dream. So you're not selling only the dream, you also sell the road towards that dream. So we're constantly balancing between that two states. So do nothing and stay where you are, or act and work towards the dream. And today, a lot of your prospects and customers are focused on loss aversion. So we are probably not going to lean too much towards the dream state, but rather lean on that kind of pain and challenge and the need to overcome this. And again, keep in mind that when you're talking to customers and prospects, that's where the focus is likely to be. So to wrap this up, a normal sales approach is a balance between focus on opportunity by action versus potential loss by no action. And in the new reality, in a lot of cases, it's loss by inaction versus loss aversion or prevent loss. So big difference. So if you're able to pinpoint the stage someone is in, you can start thinking of, okay, how I'm going to sell with empathy. Again, these are unprecedented times, so with a lot of uncertainty. First thing you can do is put yourself in their position. Actually, the same when you run a normal sales process. So try to identify yourself with the other side of the line. Think of a situation where someone needs to work from home, because that alone is a major disruption in their life. Also, they worried about their kids, their colleagues, their personal life and professional cash flow. And again, listening is super important. Try to understand the situation, put yourself in their position. And next, we need to keep in mind that there's an important difference between empathy and sympathy. So yes, listen and let them know you understand them. But try to avoid talking along the worst case road. Try to understand, but be the adult and the grown up as a trusted advisor. So yes, we listen to them, but you don't want to run down that worst case scenario road with them. Try to stay positive. Try to stay above it. Because they trust on you. And again, you are the trusted advisor. Okay, there's a technique called layer, which could help you through that process. And I can give you a first takeaway from me in this VET talks about this layer technology. So please remember, so the layer technique stands for listen, acknowledge, explore, and respond. And first of all, you need to determine what's the challenge and what are the objectives. So the only way to understand this is to listen, really listen, and not try to make upfront assumptions. And this is a difficult exercise because most of us are likely making assumptions. So try to clear your head and really listen to what they have to say and respond to what you hear. Let them know that you acknowledge what they just told you. Summarize it to give proof that you're preparing, not preparing for your next sale-ish response. So something like, okay, Eric, so let me get this straight. If I understand it correctly, what you're concerned about is A, B, C. So tell it back to them, and do this for two important reasons. You want to make sure that you listened and understand it correctly, and you want to have them confirm your acknowledgement. And second, when you reflect what they just told you, you can begin to bring structure around what they are facing at this moment. And in this way, they're starting to actually address these challenges and move away from that depression stage and move into the stage where they can start being proactive and starting to deal with these challenges. So keep in mind that a lot of people you're talking to right now simply don't have that clear overview. So help them to build that structure in your own head. If you're aligned with these challenges, you can start to explore and ask open-ended questions to learn more about their concerns. So during and after the stage, you go straight back to the listening mode. The big challenge here is to not end up in the response phase too soon. Don't do this as late as possible. You want to keep this triangle of listen, acknowledge, explore. Listen, acknowledge, explore. Because you're not able to add value as long as you don't have the clear understanding of this. And again, in most cases, they don't have the overview either. So, pro tip from me, actually try to print this diagram before you start your first conversation today, the first exploration call maybe. And simply move your finger over each action. And remember, after the explore stage comes listening. It's natural to start responding and give your advice, but learn to wait and listen. Okay, that was my first tip for you, from me for you today. Sinead, I want to give the stage to you to talk us through some more about marketing.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. So I think it's important to, I suppose, keep in mind the slides and you know, the conversation piece that Eric just had. What we're trying to do, and when Eric and I sat down to talk about doing this webinar, what should we do it on, right? We want to acknowledge and that everyone's been in you know, that stages of crisis, but we want to put a positive slant on it. Okay, now we want to be like in the space where we're creating that action. So we're on the upway. So what we've done over the next few slides is thought about, well, what can we give any attendees on today's webinar to take away, to ask some questions about their own marketing and sales strategy, and hopefully to give you a couple of pivots and tips that you can take home today and really implement into your own strategy. So without question, you know, we're going to have some different industries on the call today. So bear in mind, some of the marketing plays that we're actually going to talk about will be more relevant than others. But again, just feel free to adapt what we're talking about to what works best for your business. So the three big marketing pivots that we wanted to talk about today, something very easily that can be applied into your marketing strategy. So the first one, we're doing exactly what we say in this presentation. You know, so the first one is really looking at taking your events online. Okay, the second one is creating online resources. And the third one then is adjusting your marketing message. So we really feel that these are three important marketing plays that you can do. So we're going to jump into them in a little bit more detail. So first one, taking your event online. So like I said, we're doing exactly what we're promoting in this webinar today. We felt, you know, we wanted to give a webinar that was educational and that could help your vet customers and HubSpot customers as well, and prospects. For many people who maybe have a very heavy sales focused in the field, or they put a lot of their marketing budget into, I guess, events, you know, we are at a place, certainly in Ireland, I think you guys might be a little bit ahead of us in the Netherlands. We can't have events at the minute. We can't have more than, I think a wedding in Ireland right now is no more than 50 people. So it's the same for events. So realistically, if you're in a position that you had a lot of events planned for 2020, maybe even to 2021, now's a really good opportunity to see if you can actually virtualize that event. So a couple of tips we want to give. First one is setting the goal. So it's just important that you follow this. What are you trying to achieve by doing a webinar or an event, you know, there's multiple different reasons that you can actually take these events online. The first one, lead generation. Are we looking to create more brand awareness? You know, are we looking to educate our customers? So really set your goal out, and that's going to help you dictate, you know, I suppose the path that your event is going to take. The second one really is around choosing your topic. So if you had previously planned an in-person event, I think it's really important to first take stock of, okay, my in-person event, if I want to take that online, will it translate well? Okay, we're using different environments to actually run these events. So just make sure that it will translate from in-person to online. The third one we want to look at, and this should be a given for any marketing activity we do. So the usuals apply in terms of make sure that you have content to promote your event, describing what the attendee will learn or achieve during your event. You know, share through your social channels. If you've got a guest speaker, ask them to promote the event. Of course, if you're going to put some paid spend behind it, make sure you have a plan there. And of course, then you know, make sure you have the correct CTAs in place as well. The next one seems like a simple one, but I've seen so many different platforms at the moment. Just make sure you use the right platform. And we're using Zoom today. There's Cisco WebEx, GoToWebinar, a ton of new companies that are capitalizing on this new shift of business. But a couple of things that you want to keep in mind. That is ease of use, that is multiple panelists. That's things like, can you record? Is there a record function? Is there a chat function? So just when considering your platform, make sure that it has the functionality that you need to run a webinar and event. Next one, do a dry run. I've learned this, I think, the hard way a few months ago, or I mean, I spend a lot of my time on Zoom anyway. But you know, I would consider myself a bit of a Zoom expert. It's because I, for the last 5 years, have conducted all of my business on Zoom. But even when Eric and I came on, it took us a few minutes to, you know, to get it right. So just do a dry run and then come on a few minutes earlier, especially if you've got a guest speaker that you just want to make sure, okay, with handing slides over right, you know, just the logistics of making sure that there's an easy flow to your event, and that you've got no hiccups. So the next one then, and again, you know, this would be the same as if you had a sales meeting or if you were, you know, running out a campaign. After your event, make sure that there is a follow-up plan, right? So simple things, are we going to send out the recording of the event? Is there going to be a survey? You know, are we going to send out resources? You know, if depending on the actual type of event, if it's more lead generation focus, are we going to rotate a lead down to the sales reps? So just make sure that you have a really concrete follow-up plan after your event. Okay, like I said, a lot of these seem quite obvious, but just if you are taking your event online, make sure that you're ticking all of these boxes. So the next one, creating online resources.
I'm so just curious, Sinead. Just a question: who's running online events right now, or who's starting to run online events? Just raise your hand if you are running events now online.
Oh, everyone on the call. Yeah, that's a good question, actually. So anyone on the call who's running events.
Who's running online events?
Yeah, if we get a show of hands. Is there anyone?
Yeah. Tamara says not yet, but Olivia says yes.
Okay, split. Okay, a good split. Okay. So look, but that's the thing, it's your opportunity to really get creative as well. So the second one we want to look at, so I think, to be fair, Bureau Vetting and HubSpot is something that we've been creating online resources for a while, and hopefully some of you guys as well. But I think when it comes to online resources in COVID and you know, other movements, Black Lives Matter, you know, we just have to be really aware of the current landscape, right? So what's going on around the world? tipping 40 soon, just to give my age away there. And for me, this has been, you know, I've never gone through anything like this in my life. You know, and it has been a really, I suppose, at times scary and an educational time. And I think we need to think about that in terms of when we're thinking about our customers and our prospects as well. So when we create online, I suppose, resources at the moment, think of what you're putting out there. Obviously thinking of your buyer persona, but is this helpful? Is it resourceful? And is it actually responsive to the current landscapes, to what's going on around us? So, you know, just thinking about Eric's slides again, show your empathy there, show your helpfulness, show that, you know, we're going to get out of this together. And in the meantime, here is something to help your business. So when we try, and I always suggest, I'm a big fan of marketing and sales and alignment. And I think if any of you have seen me speaking, you know, at events with Bureau Vet before, I'm really passionate about sales and marketing alignment. And I think when you're a marketer and you're going to start thinking about creating online resources, webinars, you know, building forums, a bunch of different things, I think it's really good to bring in some sales and services influence as well, right? These are the teams in your businesses that are actually talking to prospects and customers every single day, right? They're on the, I suppose, they're the first line of people who talk to them about their challenges and so on. So just bring them in and say, okay, get their opinion on what do they think their customers and prospects would really relate to. Eric, you guys are pretty good over at, I'll say pretty, you're very good at creating online examples over in Bureau Vet. Have you guys done anything recently?
Yeah, obviously we do a lot of online resources. What we see, it's for example, our HubSpot e-Bible is some content piece which is downloaded like I think between 5 or 10 times a day. So it's a great piece of content. No, not focused on sales, but just educational. So and I think that's also the hard part of this scenario, because if you're having a hard time paying the bills, and now we tell the people, okay, you have to work on educational content, so that which not directly affects your turnovers. So I think this is a nice discussion about, okay, how, and it's inbound all the way, because in inbound you have to focus not only on today but on tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. So yes. Yeah. And the HubSpot e-Bible is a good example of it.
Yeah, kind of, it makes me feel, remind myself of that movie, Pay It Forward, and you know, that we're just trying to work together and help each other through this as well. Okay, cool. So the last one, and this is something that I actually learned from when working on this presentation, and it actually really got me thinking. You know, so I have obviously done this presentation a few weeks ago, and then, you know, I'd find myself watching TV or my own real life examples, and actually I would come back to this slide. So I thought, like, adjusting your marketing message to now, I think, is super important, right? And I think it's one of the most important things that you guys should take out of today. And it's our opportunity right now to leave a lasting impression for both customers and prospects, realistically. I thought I wanted to put in this quote. I think it's a really nice quote from the founder and CMO of Five and Vine. So we're shifting our investment from advertising to empathy, philanthropy, and facilitating community connection and inspirational content. So there was, you know, that really lends itself to what we just spoke about creating online, you know, resources and what we're doing with this webinar and so on. But then I thought about some of the examples I saw, so I just wanted to add them in. So the first one, this actually came in the post the other day. So it's a check from my insurance company. I obviously haven't cashed it yet, but it's not a huge amount of money. It's 30 euros, but it was my car insurance company to say, look, we have reduced our premiums dramatically because no one was driving. Here's €30 back, right? So, I mean, if I had ever considered leaving that insurance company, I really don't think, you know, it's in my mind now, because I felt during a really hard time, they gave a token to say, look, you know, you've been impacted, we've saved money, we're going to give back to you. Another one I saw, which was really nice, I'm actually not a customer of theirs, but I saw an advertisement on television. So KBC Bank, I don't know what it was like in Amsterdam, but I'm sure it's quite similar in a way that, so our debit cards or credit cards, they have a tap limit. So when you go into a supermarket, which to be honest is all I did for 3 months, it was the only place I went, and everything I purchased was, you know, every bill was kind of over €100. So I was in a position where I couldn't tap. I always had to touch the PIN pad for the card machine. And that gave me a little bit of anxiety in terms of, you know, I wanted to touch less surfaces. So KBC brought out this messaging to their customers to say, look, we've changed the limits on our app. So now you can essentially tap your payment over, I think it was €150. So that was something that wasn't going to probably bring them new customer, but it was a really good, I felt, example of, listen, we're listening to your concerns right now. The current landscape is a bit scary. We want to do what we can do to make it a little bit easier for you. So when you leave today's webinar, think about the messaging that you're sending out, like how have you communicated with your existing customers, and you know, is there anything that you can do to help them in terms of your marketing message? So we also today, outside of the 3 marketing pivots, you know, we really wanted to kind of dig a little bit deeper into the online lead generation space. And we specifically wanted to do that because, you know, Eric mentioned it a bit earlier. I think, did you say larger companies are going to do 10 to 30% less in terms of air travel? But, you know, the mood in Ireland is people are going to travel less in general. They're going to try and move more sales meetings online. That's more because people now want to spend more time with their families. They want to spend, you know, less time traveling. I think COVID in a positive way has taught us some really good things in terms of we can be more efficient with our time. Yes, some businesses will always run on face-to-face interactions, and that's just the way it is. And I hope we don't lose that. But I think a lot of people now are going to be taking a large part of their sales process online. So I think it's really important as marketers that if you're not already, and I'm sure a lot of you have done some really great stuff, you know, for lead generation, we just wanted today to make sure that because it is so important, do you have a really solid lead generation strategy? So, and I've taken this from HubSpot, the 4 L's. So I just want to talk you through them today. And again, just ask yourself, okay, am I doing this? And could I do it better? All right, are we generating enough leads online? And again, talk to your sales team. Say, look, how many leads ideally would you need in order to hit your sales target? Right, start working with them together, because this is our opportunity to really help the sales org in our businesses to really, you know, get over this obstacle of not being able to sit down face to face with our prospects. So the first one, lead capture. Everybody loves leads. So I unfortunately see a lot of people I talk to and they say, yeah, we have a lead generation strategy online. And then, you know, we look at it, and when we go in deep, it's quite light in terms of there's a sign up here or contact sales kind of scenario, right, in order to convert a lead. So we really want to be mindful of when we're asking someone for their personal details, right? So their email address, could be their job title, their phone number, whatever the case is. We want to make sure that we are saying to them, look, in order for you to give us your details, we're going to give you something of value. So it's that whole we give before we ask mentality. So just make sure that your CTA is a good offer, right? So again, a webinar, an ebook, whatever the case is. A good example, is relevant blog content, you know, and downloadable offers. So I want to give a kind of a couple of examples around what I consider are really good offers, but also CTAs, right? So an attractive call to action that's going to convert your lead. So we have a couple of examples here. The first one being a company we all know, Dropbox. So the offer here is to sign up for a free product or a very limited version of their product in terms of free. But what the message is here is the CTA is very clean. It's very descriptive in terms of what you're going to get. And then we have a short form that's going to allow us to fill out our details. Okay, so a couple of things that I love about CTAs. The first one being, as a marketer, it's our first opportunity to start collecting details about our leads, right? Again, good opportunity to sit down with sales and say, listen, what do you need to know about a particular lead in order to deliver a stronger, a stronger sales process? We've put in, we're a little biased here, but they're really great examples. We put into examples from Eurovet. Eric, do you want to talk to us about your CTAs and just kind of give a little example of what they are?
Yes, Nate, like you said, with a lot of content examples with Bureauvet, but also with our customers, we tell them you kind of have to pay with your identity. So that's an important thing in lead nurturing, of course, because you don't want to stick to an IP address. You need a name and an email address and a function and so on. So if you look at the HubSpot eBible example, it's really I think an awareness consideration example. And because it's really valuable content, people are willing to leave their name or their email address to actually download this content. And if you look at how I also at HubSpot, is HubSpot the right tool for me, or am I doing everything with HubSpot it offers me? Okay, let's do a scan. So it's not really focused on sales. It's just, okay, let's figure out if HubSpot, if you're using HubSpot the right way, and if you're using, do you use all the functionality in it? So again, this call to action refer to helping you towards doing things better. So yes, I think it's still educational content. I think the second one, the scan, is a little bit more down the funnel. It gives our sales reps better reason, obviously, to maybe try and give it a call. But we still, I think, best is a warm lead, and they contact you by themselves. So they figure out, okay, maybe they can help me along the road to this better situation. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually coming up on the next slide. So I'm already giving away my introduction to the next slide. But like statistically, about 50. Maybe I should go to the next slide because I off the top of my mind I can't remember if it's 50 or 75. But I think let's say 60%, right? Meet in the middle. But statistically, we're saying that if we don't convert or capture that lead on the first time someone visits our website, they're not going to return. So either that is a really good CTA, or again, it's a really good lead magnet. So I suppose lead magnets, the second of our 4 L's, by the way, is an opportunity as a marketer to really close the gap on converting visitors to leads. Okay, so it's not really good enough in today's world to say, oh, we've got 10,000 visitors. It really comes down to how many of those visitors have we converted into leads. And look, in my years in HubSpot, I think this is one of the areas that and especially, you know, Eric, when you bring on a new client and we're talking about that client, it's often one of the first places where we can show value, right? If we can improve that conversion path in terms of improving CTAs and the lead magnets themselves, is where you can, what we like to say, pick low-hanging fruit. I'm sure there's a Dutch version as well, or do you just use the English version?
Yeah, it's low-hanging fruit. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, okay, good. Because often Eric will throw out, yeah, but in we have a saying in Dutch as well, and I always lose them. But if you think about, I guess, like, because we're talking to you as marketers, right? But just put the shoe on the other foot for a second and think of this as your own behaviors online. I personally, anyway, I'm only going to fill out a form if I think, oh yeah, look, this is going to be interesting or relevant to me. It's as simple as that. So if you think about our online resources, like when you're thinking about putting a lead magnet strategy together, thinking about, again, educational webinars, like, educational resources, ebooks, white papers, helpful tips. They don't have to be, and Eric is right, like, it can be, I suppose, time consuming to generate lead magnets if you're looking at webinars or ebooks. But think about shorter term things like interviews, if your business supports it, a free trial, helpful tips, infographics, things like that, that maybe aren't as time consuming.
Yeah, because we see a lot of cases that especially with new clients, they have like a beautiful website and they do have a blog. And if you read the blog articles, then you totally miss the call to action. So most important part of all, so actually the closure of that little sales process is missing. So with a few quick fixes, you could think of like 4 or 5 different call to actions and divide them over your current blog items. So very easy fix. Within a day, you have a simple quick fix for start leads, nurturing leads.
Yeah, agree. And like, Eric, we've probably worked together now 4 of my 5 years in HubSpot. Like, there's been so much change in terms of technology and, strategy. Videos become huge in the last couple of years. Loads and loads of changes. The one thing for me that has really remained consistent is how we convert leads. And it's really the backbone of the inbound marketing methodology. We don't talk about it as much anymore, the inbound marketing methodology. But in terms of how you generate leads, like, it's going back to basics. So it's an interesting one, actually. Why can everyone on the call, again, give us a yes or no if they're actually using lead magnets at the moment? Okay, and just while you're doing that, then I think, when we think about lead magnets, it's not only a good way that we can start building our database with, usable email addresses. It's also a really good way to educate the readers. And, not to plug Bureau Vet too much here, but because we want to be educational, but if this is something that after your call you think, I could really improve the lead magnet and the resources that we have, talk to Bureau Vet, sit down. It is time consuming. So you want to make sure that if you're going on this journey, that the content is relevant to your buyer's journey, your buyer's persona. It is relevant. It's, relevant to the current landscape and all the things we spoke about in the previous slides. Okay. The third L of our four L's. So the landing page conversion techniques. So this is it. This is the main stage of converting those visitors into leads. So we can drive leads to landing pages through loads of different avenues. So advertisement, blogs, email, bunch of different ways. So I think the important thing is that, we understand this conversion technique as in, yes, we have an option to convert the lead. So convert that lead with CTA. Then we have our lead magnet. So what's of value that we're giving out. Then the third one is that landing page technique. So an example that I've put down, it's a self-driving car, which makes me nervous. I don't think I'd buy one, but I really like their landing page. So you can see here, they have a short description of what you're actually going to be getting from the ebook. Really clean, very easy to understand what it is you're actually downloading. You can see along the top, we have no navigation, right? Because the job of the landing page is to do one thing and one thing only, and that's to capture that lead. So on the right-hand side, we also have our form, which allows us to start collecting information about that lead. So remember, I spoke about speaking to your sales team and finding out what information is relevant for them. Okay, so I'm going to speed it up a bit just in the interest of time. So lead scoring, this is probably most relevant to anyone who has the technology for lead scoring or marketing automation.
Maybe it's a good tip for the landing page, because the landing page we just saw, it's really a best practice for how does a landing page needs to look like. And let me throw in an example of one of our landing pages about the HubSpot training, for example. It kind of looks the same as the one you saw in the previous slide. So if you're not working with landing pages, or you need to improve your landing pages, just look at this example and maybe try to change the design more towards this one, because this really is best practice.
Yeah, and also the littlest of changes here can make the biggest of differences. Okay, so lead scoring here, like I said, you know, this really depends on the technology. Can you put in the yes or no as well, who on the call is actually using marketing automation technology or any sort of lead scoring technology? So again, this is going to be really important for our way to help sales teams. So how do we help them prioritize the leads? Look, if we're kind of sending out that message in this presentation of we need to improve that online lead generation process, improve the quality of those leads, because our sales teams can't go out anymore and face-to-face prospect, or it's dramatically reduced. We want to make sure that we are creating good leads, we're increasing the volume of leads that we get. So it's also important to put in the fourth of our 4L. How do we help our sales team prioritize those leads, right? Because it is super important that we are really creating an outreach process to those leads that are reaching them at the right time. What was the split like, Eric, about people using marketing automation technology on the call?
For example, Ed says no HubSpot functionality currently used at not even 10%.
Okay, all right. So that's another thing you want to think about after the call. Look, like I said, if you're generating 10 leads a month at the minute, it's not relevant. This is for people who have high volume leads or are planning to grow to high volume leads. Like Eric gave the example of the ebook Bible, it's 5 to 10 leads a day. You know, if you think about that, along with all the other content they have online, if you're getting those kind of volumes, you really want to have a way of making sure that you're prioritizing them in the right way. Okay, so we talked a lot about marketing. Now we just want to kind of shift a little bit into the sales. So again, can you put in the chat function if you have a field-based sales team in your organization? And Eric, maybe you let me know when you get some answers. So globally, overnight, we've had to change how we run our sales process for most of us, unless you're e-commerce. So, you know, in Ireland, like I said, I think we're a little bit behind you guys. We still are advised not to go to face-to-face meetings. So for anyone, and I said there's going to be a couple of things that I really want to highlight today. This is the second of them. If you do not have a centralized CRM, that is an absolute must, right? I think actually that's my number one takeaway today. If you don't have a centralized CRM for your business, regardless of how big or small, you have to look into that today. You know, I'm going to use HubSpot as an example. March, you know, in full transparency, was in my 5 years the hardest month that we've ever had for me personally, and I think as a company. And this is a true story. Everything came to a standstill, obviously. In April, May, and actually in July, we broke records, have been our best ever months for sales, which again allows me the time, you know, to give back and spend more time with bureau vet and partners that I work with. And that is down to people have said, okay, we're through that grief cycle. Now we need to get set up for recovery. How do we adapt our business so that we can get back to doing what we do and not selling and servicing clients? Okay, so number one, if you don't have a centralized CRM, get on it and start researching it today. The second one, because we see it a lot, if you do have a CRM in place, but you're not maximizing the potential, invest some time into it, right? Try and be the champion of that CRM. And, you know, if we can get that message to the sales team that, look, if you can start inputting data, us in marketing can start doing our job better in terms of understanding the leads, improving the quality of the leads, and generating more leads. Okay, so I'm going to give a technology plug here, but again, outside of HubSpot, you have a bunch of different tools and providers that you can use. But from a sales perspective, things that I personally have used and I have found very beneficial to me, inbound sales, obviously, and unfortunately, my marketing team at HubSpot are the best I've worked at delivering leads for us. But some of the technologies that the software lends us, things like one-to-one video. So we now changed our process in a sense of, rather than sending maybe a cold outreach email, we'll throw in a quick vidyard, right? And again, you know, that has put the personalized token on it. If you're not sure about what video prospecting is, again, book time with either myself or Bureau Vet. We'll give you some examples of what we're doing. Sequences, really useful to help me from a sales perspective automate my process. Meeting links, and quote and e-sign and pipeline. Again, the last point there is really, really important to that centralized database. If you're a sales manager, you really want to have visibility, or CEO actually, you want to have visibility into the pipeline remotely, right? We're not in an office anymore where we can say, hey Eric, what are you bringing in this month? You know, this is really focused around your leadership team and individual reps being able to dive in and see what your pipeline is. If you're on an Excel sheet today, right, anyone on the call who works in sales or their sales team are working in Excel sheets, come and talk to us or download a free version or look into CRM today. Okay.
Yeah, the free CRM from HubSpot is, I think it's a good start point. If you look, if you're working with Excel, then the logical next step is just try the free CRM and see where it takes you.
Yeah, and 100%. Look, all of these things in time all of these things at the start, it's an investment of time, there's no question. But if you can stick with it and learn how to use it and the value of it, I promise you it'll give you back hours and hours and hours, and it'll help you close more business. So we positioned this webinar very sales and marketing focused, but I thought I'd be doing us an injustice if we didn't talk about how marketing can help existing customers. So we just wanted to put in a slide on, for your current customer base, and we want you to think about the previous slides and things like, you know, what can we do for them online? How can we look at our messaging, our marketing message, and how can we help them? From a technology point of view then as well, you know, I just wanted to put in a couple of things that just ask yourself, are we doing these or can we do this to improve the experience for our customer? And marketing can play a big role in this as well in terms of knowledge-based articles, 24-hour chat. You know, do you have a live chat, for example, that, you know, it makes it super easy for your clients to reach you? You know, bot, if you're online, conversational bot. You know, like we have multi-channel here, but like it are things like Facebook Messenger, you know, chat, email, forms, submit a ticket on your website if it's relevant for your business. And just making sure that it is very easy for your customers to reach you, and of course that process for you to speak with them and manage their query or the concern has a good flow to it as well. Okay, so the next slides we put in, I wanted to give some real life examples of what we've done in HubSpot. You know, we're a global company, but I always feel very localized. You know, okay, I'm based in Ireland, but I work very close in the Benelux region and Nordics. And we've applied this, this methodology to all of our global employees, but also our customers. So a couple of things. I've been, like I said, in HubSpot for coming up to 5 years. And now, Eric, just be patient before I don't go mad before I finish my comment here. But I always said, oh, maybe when I get to 5 years, we get a sabbatical, maybe I would, look at my options. Would I move on? Or, 5 years is a long time in a role. And would I maybe look at leadership, or would I look at a different company? And very honestly, right now, I can see myself staying in HubSpot for a very long time after my 5 years. And really that has come down to how they have supported me during COVID. They've supported my family. And I've had conversations, not as much with partners and clients, but more with family and friends around how they've been treated in their workplaces. And look, this is huge, I think, in terms of how you're handling it internally. So really just a couple of points, think about how your company is handling, COVID, and even, like I said, different landscapes, Black Lives Matter, and there's there's a bunch of things that we should be taking into consideration now, and think about how we're helping our teams and we're supporting our teams through this. Externally, again, I've been really proud to call myself a HubSpot employee, because of the way we've treated our customers, in my opinion. And things we've done a bunch around contracts and cash flow, and that affects us as a business as well. If we're saying to someone, look, we can help you with a small discount for now, or I think we've paid partner commissions in advance, that impacts our business as well. But I think our leadership team sit down and said, okay, well, where can we put ourselves under reasonable pressure, but in order to help our customers or partners? In terms of software, you can see here some examples. We've removed some of the limits for now. We've paused pricing increases until June or July, but actually that's been pushed out another couple of months. So just think about how you can adapt as well for your customers. Okay, so listen, we've pretty much that. We've come to the end. I think the consistent thing that I would leave on a parting message is that positivity of, coming out the other side of it, to Eric's points of listen to your customers, and then just using the example of the couple of slides, what can we do in our business to make things better for our customers or our prospects?
Sell with empathy. I think that's a good.
Yep. Sell with empathy. So we've put a couple of resources as well. I think Eric's going to send out the slides after the presentation. And for me, on a personal note, thank you for giving me an hour of your time. I know we're all super busy, and I think we have some time for Q&A at the end, if there is any, Eric.
Yeah, we do have a few minutes, like 4 or 5 minutes for Q&A. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and then we can try to answer it. Or if you do want to book some time with me, then we can do a one-on-one call, of course. I will send down the slides to every attendee now after the presentation, and feel free to ask questions, and I will stick around for a few minutes.
Yeah, don't make it awkward. At least someone asks a question, because it's how I measure success of a webinar. Was I asked at least one question at the end? So don't leave me hanging.
Ed says, for example, coming back at the previous question, it's total online sales process for him.
Total online sales process. Okay. So you haven't been impacted too much if you're all online?
Maybe Ed can answer the question. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says many thanks.
Okay. Okay. Well, look, like Ed said, or like Eric said, if there is any questions that come up after, or you're looking for, a chat, I suppose, to think about any of the slides that we had, we can, we're happy to help and book a call.
Yeah. All right. Ed says no impact. Actually, a lot of more sales. We're selling VPS services, cloud backup, etc. So yeah, perfect example. Look,
there's industries that are going to really rocket through this, and then there's industries that are going to be impacted, obviously. So again, think about that when you're thinking about your clients. How impacted have they been? And if they're successful, great, support them on that journey as well. Help them even over exceed.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Sinead. I'll switch back to Dutch for 1 second.
Ja.
Talk to you in a few minutes.
Ja.
Oké. Dankjewel allemaal voor deelnemen aan deze Vet Talks. De volgende gaan we zeker binnenkort weer over communiceren. Ook wat het onderwerp gaat worden. Zal net na de vakantieperiode zijn, naar verwachting. Dus we hopen jullie allemaal terug te zien. Hopelijk hebben we wat kunnen opsteken van deze ochtend. En nogmaals, we zullen de slides gaan sturen. Als je behoefte hebt aan een 1-op-1 call, dan houd ik mij zeker aanbevolen. Dus ik zou zeggen, dankjewel allemaal en tot de volgende keer. Doei!